Welcome back for another episode on True Tuesdays presents KLU Pivot with Latora and friends. Hi, how is everybody doing out there? I hope you all are doing great today. I am excited about today's show. I hope you guys are here with me in the chat on this journey on KLU. Again, I'm excited about tonight's topic. Very, very excited because, again, tonight's topic is close to my heart. It's very near and dear to my heart because there are often times where we get caught up in the whole swing of our feelings, and our feelings sometimes take us to a place where we forget who we are and we forget what God has done for us, the blessings that we have in our lives. And so I'm just tonight going to share on KLU Pivot, just to give us a reminder, basically an encouragement, and a reminder that, you know what, regardless of what's going on and everything that is going on in the world, what you're facing today, whether it is financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, to remember who you are. Remember, okay, of everything that God has blessed you with thus far. So we're going to jump right in and get started on our topic because I don't want to take too much of your time tonight. Again, thank you all. Thank you for joining me once again. Please let me know in the chat that you are here and you are watching. Let me know what you are streaming from. If you've never put it in the chat before, let me know where you are watching from, okay? So I can know what place of the world that you are in. So we're going to jump right into it. So everybody knows that, again, this podcast is here to uplift, to encourage, and to just inspire all the viewers out there on different topics that we will be discussing on our show. Again, at the end of the show, if you would like to chime in, okay, if you would like to chime in and jump in to discuss, just share some things in regards to our topic, what you got from the topic, your takeaway, feedback, or if you have any questions or concerns that you want to ask, you can ask it also in the chat as well. It's okay. You can ask in the chat. However, I do want to let you know that you have the option to come up on the screen, okay, on the live, to ask your question or to share your response. And I can definitely send you a private link so you can be included on the live. And so, again, I hope that you guys are able to hear me on the live. I just want to make sure that you all can hear me. So give me one moment. I just want to make sure that my connection is great and that you all can hear me. Let's see. One moment. All right. And I trust and believe that you all can hear me. I know that you can hear me. I feel like you can. I want to make sure that my sound is on. I see it's working. I see the green buttons. Okay. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time, and I'm going to go in. For those who may be watching the replay, again, I want to thank you because I understand for some reason it seems like this time is changing because it's 8 o'clock, and usually around 8 o'clock, the sun be already down. It'd be dark. But all of a sudden today at 8 o'clock, it is bright outside. And I'm like, what is going on? You sure this is 8 o'clock? So yeah, time is about to change with that summertime, y'all. So we're about to have more daylight, okay, than night. So again, that kind of threw me off because I'm like, are we in it? Oh, is it really 8 o'clock? So that kind of threw me off at the time. But anyway, so for those that are going to be watching the replay, I want to thank you guys for joining and watching the replay. I understand that we all are busy and we got things to do. So Thank you. If you have any questions or concerns in the replay, please also comment and share so I could know. If you have any questions or you have anything to say, feedback on this show tonight, please let me know. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that that you guys can hear me, and I want to make sure also that you all can see me. And so hopefully, I'm hoping that the frequency tonight will not mess up, because I know sometimes it slows down and freezes. But jumping right in the topic for tonight. Again, the topic for tonight is what we feel versus what we know. Okay? So I'm going to be throwing a lot of scriptures at you tonight, y'all. You already know this is a faith-based podcast, okay? We talk about all things that we go through in the world. We talk about education. We talk about relationships. We talk about our faith. We talk about finance. We talk about everything on our podcast, okay? On this podcast. So I just want to let you know that some of you guys that may not be there yet, just know there will be scriptures thrown out tonight, okay? All right, so here we go. Let's jump into this. So what do we mean when we talk about knowing the difference about, what we feel versus what we know, okay? So I may get a little hype on this one because we tend to oftentimes, I believe, we tend to more rely on what we feel versus what we already know about ourselves in the situation. So again, I always say this a lot now, is that we have to get to a point where we don't rely on our feelings, because when you look at how you feel, your feelings is something that you cannot really trust. You can't put your faith, your trust in how you feel, because think about it. Throughout the day, your feelings change. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Because 1 minute you can be up, and the next minute you can be sad. The next minute you can be mad. So I like to say this: don't put your trust in something that is not even reliable or consistent or stable. We know within ourselves as human beings that we are emotional creatures, and our feelings tend to go up and down. And so again, when you think about how you feel, and I'm saying that because a lot of times we tell people a lot, like even when we talk to people about their experiences and what they're going through, we always say, well, how do you feel? It's about how you feel. Or don't let nobody make you feel a certain way. Or because again, our feelings is not something that is stable, okay? Our feelings have a tendency to be up and down. So that's why it's important to lean more into what you know versus how you feeling in that moment. And so to get started, I want to say this. I want to start it off with this phrase: don't trust how you feel, but more so rely on and lean on your convictions of what you know, okay? Your conviction takes more precedence than your emotions about a situation, if that makes sense. So when we talk about, let's start it off with this. And so in John 8:32, it says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Okay, I'm going somewhere with that. Okay. So knowing the truth in the matter, which is the facts, having the knowledge and understanding about something versus just relying on your feelings. Because when you look at feelings, when I looked that up, the Greek word for feeling is called aphi, okay, which deals with the senses. So when we talk about how we feeling is being aware through touching or being touched. Okay, so it has to deal with emotion and your sensations. It's an act of touching something to examine it. Okay, so when we think about our feelings again, and a lot of this stuff, to a lot of you all may say, oh, that's child play, that's elementary, I already know about that. But oftentimes we need to be reminded, okay, we need to be told, okay, that, hey, remember that your feelings is all about sensation. And that's why sometimes for us believers, there is oftentimes where we get into a place where we're probably going something so serious and so heavy, and we always would say, we tend to say that God, I don't feel like God is there with me. I don't feel like, anybody understand me. I don't feel like he knows what I'm going through. Again, you saying feeling versus that God is there, because he ain't going nowhere. Okay. So again, when it comes to feelings, again, it's something that is through the senses. We cannot rely on our senses. And so I'm going to just break it down and give you a little bit of a joke. I know a lot of times in the church world, we say, I sense that the Lord is speaking to me, or I sense in my spirit. I know a lot of people not going to like this. Some people ain't going to like it because we do it all the time, right? We have to learn to be careful with our language and our verbiage of what we're saying. A lot of times we say, I sensed in my spirit that the Lord is leading me, or to tell you that it's time for you to go buy that car. I sense in my spirit that sister over there, her spirit is not right with God. No, because again, we're talking about our senses, okay, which is a part of our emotions. Now, can our senses be impacted by the spirit, or can God? Yeah, I'm not saying it can't. I'm not saying it can't, right? So I'm not dismissing the fact that yes, in our senses we can have some spiritual experiences, right? So I'm not dismissing that, but what I'm saying is that we got to be careful with that, because oftentimes if you're always someone that's living through your emotions, if you're always somebody, whether you are speaking to somebody or ministering or sharing the word or praying, and everything that you say and do is based on how you feel or what you sense, or then you have to bring it back to say, okay, is this really what God telling me what to say? Because we got to be careful when we say God tell us to say something and it's not. That's really using his name in vain. That's what it means. So I know oftentimes we say using God's name in vain is we cussing and saying, oh God, or whatever like that. But when we look at it from a biblical stance, it's actually meaning that you saying God said something and he didn't say that. That's using his name in vain, really. So we need concrete. You need a concrete perspective and whatever you're going through, versus being on a sandy foundation. And it goes back to that being, building your house on a brick on stone versus a sandy ground. So it's like when you are more in your feelings, you're wavering, you're double-minded, you're going to and fro, you're all over the place. And so when we look at we always like to say the scripture, Romans 8:28, for I know, it says, and we know that all things, right, work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. We like to say that all the time, but it says, and we know, not feel, that all things work together. And this is why I believe that in everything that we go through, right? And all that we go through, the good, the bad, the ugly, it may not make sense to us, even in the moment when it seems hard and it seems tough. It may not make sense, but it says, and we know, not we feel, but we know. And again, the reason I'm saying that, because we have to remind ourselves, we have to remember. I want you out there, whoever's listening to me, I want you to go back and remember what you know. Remember what you know about who you are and who you are called to be. It says, to them who are the called. So even with that part, we have to look at what it says. It doesn't say to them that, it doesn't say to them, it says to them who are the called, not to them who are called. And so let me bring it back. We usually say that, and we know that all things work together for the good to them that love God and to them who are called according to his purpose. Okay? But the Bible said, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are the called. Okay? When the Bible said the called, that means it put an identity on you versus an action, right? When it says who are called, you're saying that that's an action. But when it says who are the called, you now the Bible puts that stamp on you, that identity, saying that you are the person. Okay, it's not by what you do, but it's by who you are. You are the call. Okay, so when you go back and remember that I am the call who know God, and because I love him, all things work together. All right, and I just want to point out, going back to knowing, right? So when we look at the word knowing, knowing means saro. Okay, in Greek it means saro. So to know something versus feeling something says to recognize, to acknowledge, to identify, to be aware of through observation, inquiry, or information. Okay, so knowing is to apprehend clearly and with certainty, have direct cognition of something. So what that means, that you're not a secondary source, but you are primary source to what you know. Okay, so we learned this in middle school about secondary and primary sources. Okay, so when you have somebody say something went down, all right, and somebody come to you and say, girl, I heard they said that you won $1 million. Somebody told me through the grapevine. They told me that you won $1 million. For real? Yeah, they said it. Somebody. I heard it from all over. Everybody's looking for you. Okay, that what you call secondary resource or secondary information, because you didn't hear it for yourself. But when you hear it for yourself, and the primary source come to you, okay, the company that you won the $1 million, the lottery, when they contact you, see, it's a difference when somebody say you have something versus the person or the company that has it to give you say you got it, if that makes sense. So again, like you winning a lottery and somebody come to you who's not from the lottery tell you that you won, versus the people from the lottery themselves come to you and say you won the lottery. Totally different. Totally different, because they are the primary source. Okay? You don't have to second guess it. You ain't got to run around the bush with it, because there is the primary source is telling you this is what you want and this is who you are. You can bank on that. You can bank on that. And I hope I'm making sense. Because at the end of the day, that's where the lies come in. Because when we tend to constantly think about, or we tend to listen to the secondary source versus the primary source, then we get wrapped up and tangled up in worries and cares and feeling like we're not enough, feeling like we'll never be enough, feeling like we're ugly, feeling like we're uneducated, feeling like we could never make it, because again, when we allow the lies of our feelings or the lies and deception of people don't really know us, or things that's happening and causing us to change our mind and our perspective of our goals and our dreams and the destination that God has for us and the vision that God has given us about who we are and what he's called us to do and our assignments in the earth, when we tend to listen to all of these other outside sources versus listening to the primary source that told us to be still and know that I am God. The primary source that says, and that was Psalms 9:10. And the primary source that says in Deuteronomy 7:9, know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. When we know that, when it says in Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the thoughts that I think towards you, said the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. So it's important to know, because the Bible said, Proverbs 11:9, with his mouth the godless destroy his neighbor, but through knowledge the righteous or the just be delivered. Not shall, but it says through knowledge the just be delivered. So it's not enough just to feel. See, when you know something, nobody can change your mind. When you know, and it's going back from what we talked about last week of getting up and doing what you're called to do because you know there's something that's in you to do. But when you know that there's something that's in you, when you have knowledge, when you have primary source of information of who you are and what you are called to do, then it will be so hard. It will be so hard to just trust your feelings, right? And again, I'm speaking from experience, y'all. Because especially as a woman, and I'm not saying, because I know we say all the time, oh, women are emotional creatures, and so we always end up, men be in their feelings too. Yes, they do. Men are very emotional. They may not express it far as outwardly expression, but men are very emotional. Why? Because they're human. They just have other ways and forms of showing their emotions. Yeah, they're very emotional. They're emotional in their decisions. And they're emotional in the way that they think and the way that they may discuss certain things. Listen, as a woman, we may be emotional because people would say you're emotional because of your actions and your expressions, and be like, oh, she's so emotional because she's always crying, or she this and she that, and every time. Yeah, but then people think like men is not emotional, because listen, when you talk to a man and you have a conversation with them and they talk about a certain subject or particular whatever is going on, if like, let's be honest, fellas. Come on. Let's be honest. Let's be truthful. Now, if there's a lady that you really love or you really care about, and she, put you down or treat you some type of way or whatever, you mean to tell me just because you ain't walking around here and crying, or you mean to tell me you're not emotional? We can tell you emotional, because again, it shows up in your decisions. When we rely on our feelings and we go off emotions, it shows up in our actions, and it shows up in the decisions we make, our choices. So men are emotional, because he may not be loud, he may not be crying, but he may go out and get drunk. Okay. He may not, he may not be crying, but then he will be getting flowers, and 1 minute you got flowers out of nowhere and be like, where did this come from? That's showing emotions. So again, it's a different way of showing it for them. But men get emotional too. Yes, they do. Okay. And so we have to change our perspective. Step back again. Step back and look at remind yourself of all the different data that you have over the years that you have gathered about who you are and about what is in you to do. And just you as a person, when you look in the mirror, and if you feel a certain type of way right now, especially with everything that's going on in your life, rent due, phone bill due, car note due, all these things due, and you're frustrated and you're like, what am I going to do? Look in the mirror and you look at your whole year and look at all the things that you have came through, all the hard moments, and speak to yourself. And I know a lot of times you'll be like, no, you shouldn't be doing. No, speak to yourself and tell yourself the truth of what you know is true about your situation. Okay. Is it true that you might have bills due at the beginning? It's the first of the month. Yeah. You might have bills due. Yeah, that's true. That's true based on, what's coming. But is it true that you may get evicted or repossessed or whatever like that? Okay, speak to yourself and do. Am I saying people may not go through, may not suffer, may not? No, but that doesn't mean you a failure. Now that's a lie. Just because you didn't do well in something, the lie may come and say, "Oh, look at you! You tried that, but look, you a failure. You're a disappointment. See, you tried this, but look, everybody's laughing at you. Nobody's supporting you. Look, you didn't step out. You step out on faith. You step out on faith, but look, who's supporting you? See, all of those are lies. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? It could be true that I may not see the numbers, but at the end of the day, God has called me to impact somebody in this world. And if it's one person, I've done my job. You got to tell yourself the truth. No, you may feel like, oh, you want to write this book, but God, I'm not the smartest person. And No, look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm not in a rush. I'm not going to sit here and pull my hair out because I know it's in me to do this book. But at the same time, I don't know how to get started. I don't know. You tell yourself, oh, I will be an author for the Lord. I will write this book and it is going to bless souls. And God's going to lead me step by step, piece by piece. He's going to take me to the place or to the people that's going to help me put it together and make sure it's a good thing. It's a good God thing. So you got to speak to yourself. You got to speak to yourself. You got to get all the lies out of your head. Okay? And then I think about that scripture, Hosea 4:6. It says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou not be a priest for me. Okay? So what that means is that the reason why some of us go through certain things is not only because we have a little knowledge, but also because we're rejecting knowledge. So this is the thing. It didn't say my people are destroyed because they have no knowledge. It says they lack knowledge. It's one thing to have a little knowledge of something, right? But sometimes we get in a place because we feel like we have a little bit of information that, oh, I don't need to hear from nobody else. I don't got to learn anything anymore. I know what I'm doing. I got this. I know everything. We get to that place of self-righteousness and arrogance, and we feel like we can do it all on our own. See, that's the part, because then again, you have all the resources that's coming around you. You have the mentors, the support, the this and that. But because in your mind, you feel like, okay, this is your thing. and nobody's going to come over here and take over and do this and do that or whatever like that, fine. You have knowledge about it. You probably sat down, plan out some things, prepare yourself or whatever. But then there are some things, yes, you research it. You're good at researching. But as far as implementation, how do you implement what you know is important? All right? Because you may not have all the knowledge that's needed to get that thing done. So again, no knowledge versus lack of knowledge. That's what it said, lack of knowledge. Because again, you can have a little knowledge, you can have knowledge about what to do. Okay. I heard Priscilla Shire. Shout out to Priscilla Shire. Years and years ago, I heard her talk about this message. And she was saying how her dad, as smart and brilliant as he was in the word and certain things or whatever like that, like, oh my gosh, amazing. He studied that word. He studied the concordance, the commentary, all of these things, put his message together. Like, he is strong. Like, he have all of this know-how when it comes to breaking the scriptures down and topics and all this other stuff. But her dad did not know how to really operate a computer device. Technology was not his strong point, right? He had knowledge. He knew the word. He knew how to type certain things up or whatever. But when it comes to saving and, moving things over and putting it in this system and making sure you back this up and all that, he didn't have that knowledge. Certain things pertaining to, he did not know. So what do you do when you have knowledge but does not know how to implement it? Knowledge with no implementation, or knowledge with no application, defeats the purpose, right? And so that's a whole nother topic that we can talk about, because you can have all the knowledge in the world. It's like people who constantly learning, like I say, constantly learning, but never coming into full knowledge of what it is of the truth. What does that mean? That means that you're constantly learning, but you're not applying it. You're not doing it. You're not walking in truth. In order to fully walk into something and do something, not only you have to have the information, but you got to apply it, right? And so having the knowledge of something and knowing what to do with that knowledge is totally different. So, and I know that like sidebar threw me off a little bit, but I said all that to say this: when it comes back to lack of knowledge, so it doesn't mean you don't have some type of knowledge. You have some knowledge, but don't let the little knowledge you have keep you ignorant to the full truth, right? I hope that makes sense. Don't let the little knowledge, this is a little sidebar, y'all. Don't let the little knowledge that you possess, keep you away from the full truth, because then the little that you know is sometimes it's not the big picture, right? Like, so you can know a little bit about somebody. You can know a little bit. You can walk into a situation and be like, you can see, it's almost like seeing somebody talking to someone at your job and be like, they talking to each other. Da, 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 da. Like, you don't have the full knowledge. You only know the little piece that you see. But until you dissect the situation, get the full understanding, talk to people, you'll know the full situation. So again, going back to our topic, right? That it's important, right, that we just don't rely on going back to feelings. And I know sometimes we use this word called empath. Oh, we empathers because we're feelers, and so we feel everything around us. We feel, people's energy. I know we say that a lot, and I try to stay away from the whole energy and vibes and all this other stuff, whatever. But and saying that we feel all of these things, and we, for the other word of it, and with believers we say discern. We discern all these things. We discern people, and how they spirit around us and their energy and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, we have to be careful that we're not coming from a place of sensuality. Okay, we got to make sure we're not coming from a place of just using our senses versus what we know about that person or about the situation. Okay. And so saying all of that to say this, and I said I wasn't going to be on here long because I know I want to make it, this podcast today is really a reminder. It's just a reminder of sharing with our viewers, right? That when you get to a place where you've been beaten down for so long, or when you've been struggling for so long, or your eyes has been, you've been functioning in your feelings for so long, start to build a concrete foundational perspective on remembering those things that you know to be true. Okay. When you know something, you know it based on, you want to have more facts than fiction. Okay. We want to move in a place where, in the season where we're going, again, the climate of the nation, the climate of the world, the sad thing about it, a lot of things are happening around us in our world is because a lot of us are moving based on how we feel. It's not really truth. It's not really facts. It's not what we know. Okay? It's all based on, I feel this way, or I don't feel like this person like me, or I don't feel like doing this today, or I don't feel. If you live your life based on feelings, we'll never lose that weight. That 10 pounds that we said we was going to lose in a month. If we keep going by how we feel, then we'll never get up and go sign back up for school to do what we need to do. If we go based on how we feel, we'll never get up and start a what is called a nonprofit for homeless or the widows or the orphans. If we go by how we feel, we'll never go to take those extra classes of financial literacy to learn about what we need to do to prepare ourselves for our future and our future generation of our children, so we can leave generational wealth. Like, we would never get up to go do what we need to do, because again, and I think I said this last week on the podcast, that every time when the Lord has asked us to do something, it doesn't mean like you felt like doing it. And if somebody said that every time that he asked you to do something, yeah, I felt like doing it, I did it just because. Stop lying. We know that there are some hard situations that we have to walk through in our lives. Some things that we go through that we be all in our feelings. Like, we feel all the things. But at the end of the day, when you remember the purpose, the plan, because he said, for I know the thoughts. I know the thoughts. Psalms 46:10, be still and know that I am God. When you know, that's powerful in itself. When you know something and you have an assurance of that thing, there's a peace that comes over you. There is a joy that's in your spirit, that's in your heart, that regardless of what goes on, because you know things can happen, but there is something that rests on inside of you. It's like, you know what? Okay, that's fine. But I know this situation here. And it's not being arrogant. It's not being overly confident. But even in having knowledge of something, there is a confidence that come over you to say that that's okay. I see it. I see that look that way, and that's acting up. But because you know, it's like, I'm okay. I'm cool. It's fine. And you won't be all over the place. We won't be, how it says, when somebody like reactive. We won't be impulsive when we know. So we move from a place of, again, being, instead of impulsive and reactive. When you know something, you already proactive about your decision. You're already proactive in how you respond to that situation. That's like having a relationship with somebody. When you have learned them, see, when you know something, you have history to back it up. You have facts. You can say, I can stand 10 foot down, 10 toes down. I'm sorry. If you have 10 foot, you must be an octopus. An octopus have 8. So I don't know what creature that is. So you can stand 10 toes down when you know something beyond a shadow of a doubt. Nobody can change your mindset about it. Because you know, right? You can stand and say that regardless of what you said, that's fine. But this is what I know. And when you know something, you don't even got to prove nothing to nobody. When you know something, you don't have to defend yourself. You don't. When you know something to be true, you don't have to try to justify who you are. You don't have to justify your decisions. You don't have to justify anything to anybody about what decisions you're making for your life, because you know the plans that God has spoken to you in your secret closet. And he has told you, this is what I need you to do. You can trust that. You can lean on that. What are your convictions versus how you feel? Because you could want to do something, but your convictions of what you know will bring you back and say, no, don't, that's not good for you. Because there is a knowing from the history of what you had, based on the life experience you had, based on what you've studied, based on what you have observed, based on what you have came in contact with, the connections that you had with other relationships before, and different things like that. That connection you had, that history, those facts, all of these different things about what that is in that relationship. When you see the thing pop up again, because of the foundation that's already been experienced, you'll know whether this is good for you or not. And you ain't got to fight it. You ain't got to cry. You ain't got to wrestle. That's why some people be like, oh, you're so, you think you better than anybody, or you think that you this or that. No, it's not that. But when you know a thing, that's like you learn and you observe and you study somebody's behavior. And you can see the patterns and the habits of what they've been doing all of this time. You can sit back and say, when something happened, you don't have to, and I think that's the thing. That's another thing what keeps throwing us off. Because when we respond from our emotions and our feelings, it's almost like we're surprised and shocked at things that have been in our face all the time. I guarantee you, okay, I can go far to say 99.9%, close to 100%, that if you look at the patterns and the things that happen in your life, even with relationships, all the people that you've experienced and came through, 9 times out of 10, but more so 10, you've already experienced that already. You already went through that with somebody else just like that. You've already went through a same situation. Listen, you have at least experienced something twice in your life. Whether if it's a relationship, whether if it's a situation, you've already experienced it. You already experienced it. So that's why, again, we tend to be impulsive. We tend to be reactive. We tend to be shocked and surprised because we act like this is something brand new. Like we never went through that before. It's, again, because our feelings lies to us as if you never been through that before. This is a whole new situation and a whole new something that, oh, this is brand new to me. I never went through that, or this is, I don't understand why this going. And we get all into our feelings and we get all, hells over heels and going crazy as if this is something that we've never experienced before. And the whole time we keep going through it and we keep experiencing it because we haven't learned the lesson yet. Meaning that if you knew, if you realize, if you really sit down and take notes and observe, really look at that situation and see what it is, and really get the knowledge. It says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. It says that through knowledge shall the just be delivered. No, through knowledge the just be delivered, not shall. It says be. The King James Version say you will be you are delivered. Okay? With knowledge, you are delivered. Okay? Not shall, you are. Because when you know something, nobody can shake what you know to be true. Nobody can shake it. So now what I want to challenge all of us tonight. Because I don't know why we act like things is just out of the blue happening. Like if somebody do something that they've been doing every year. Okay. If you go to a funeral, right? And I don't want to throw this in there, meaning making it a bad situation. Oh, see, and it's okay. I'm gonna keep going because my little thing want to act up tonight, but I'm gonna get off in a minute. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up in a minute. But please let me know if you can see me, if you can see my movement after. Thank you, Sissy Pooh, for telling me. Maybe because I'm moving, because y'all, when I'm talking, I move a lot. I'm sorry. And so the live stream is probably saying, okay, you need to calm down. We need to stop you for a minute because you're doing too much movement. Is it okay now? Is it going back? I hope it is. Video froze, but we can still hear. I hope it went back. I hope it's working now. All right, but since it froze, I don't want to be frozen through the whole thing. Oh, it's okay. And I don't want to cut it and come back. I want to definitely continue this and finish. Oh, all right. Let's see. Hold on one moment. Let me see. Is it back? Is it frozen still? Oh, man. So that's something I am looking into again. So I'm going to have to reach out in regards to the connections with my service. Oh, no. Okay. So I'm going to try to get through this and wrap up home because I don't want to start this over again. So let me see. I'm going to take myself off for a minute and come back and see if that works. Hold on. Okay. Is that working? Because I want to refresh it, but I'm nervous that it's going to cut me off if I refresh it. I said, we can't see you. Oh my gosh. If it doesn't come back, I'm just going to keep talking so I can end it and then close out. Let's see. I want to refresh it. Let me see if I refresh it. Hold on. Let's see. All right. So I refreshed it. So I don't know if it came back up or not. But if not, I'm just going to finish up my comments and close it out. So is it back? Can you all see me again? Oh, yay! All right. They're trying to stop me, but will not. I see the Lord had me to remember this thought because he knows it's important. What I wanted to say is that, so if you know, right, when there's a funeral, and I hate to say this because funerals is not good all the time. Okay, they're not good, and I say that all the time because there are some times where we get tired, our body get tired, and God knows why things happen. Because sometimes, again, we can be selfish in wanting people to stay and they're ready to go, like they're tired, and they just, especially for a believer, it's a good thing for a believer when they leave this earth. They don't have to suffer no more. They don't got to go through all this hell, especially in their body. So that's why I said sometimes it's more so we call it homegoing because it's a good thing, right? So you go to a funeral and you have a specific person that every funeral, they act the same way every time, as if they are paid mourner. Like they getting paid bank to scream, to throw themselves off, like they just act crazy. Now, when you go to the next funeral, and if you have to go to a funeral with that same family member or friend or colleague or whoever, they're gonna act up. That ain't no surprise. It's not no surprise. Okay? You already know because everybody gonna have that look like, oh Lord, here they go again. Like you already know. It's not a surprise. Okay. Listen, I'm probably gonna get in trouble tonight. No, but seriously, it's not a surprise. And this is why I said we have to learn how to get out of our emotions and how we feel about something and look at the track record. Look at the habits. Look at the patterns. When you look at the patterns and it reminds us, okay, you know how this situation is going to go. You know how this person going to act. You know at the end of the day, when this, that, and that happen, this is what's going to be the result. You already know. Now, will some things be like, oh, I ain't seen that coming? Maybe. Because we do have those moments because we're not God. Okay. Some things may shock us, right? Be like, wow, I didn't see that coming, right? But the majority of things that we say that shock us and surprise us and we're impulsive about is because we know we've seen it before, but we wasn't really paying attention. Right? We pay attention. That's why it's important to know rather than to trust your feelings, right? We have to rely on the knowledge that has been provided for us. All right. And for my fellow brothers and sisters in the Lord, believers, when you having a moment and you having things that's going on, and yes, this life is tough, man. Things People are going through it every day and all day because, again, it never said in the word that we would never suffer or go through trials and tribulations and have discomforts and be disappointed. It doesn't say we won't go through all of those things. But again, a lot of times, and we say this all the time, the devil ain't got no new tricks. He ain't got no new tricks. It's the same thing all the time, but we're not paying attention to learn the lesson. Because once you learn the lesson and somebody trip and act crazy, you're going to be like, girl, he always act like that. Child, she always acting like that. Like, it won't surprise you. And it's not to say that you speaking negativity over that person, or it's not to say that you agree with the behavior. It's not to say that you're in agreement with this person being this way. It's not. But it puts you in a place where now, if they do something, that you don't have to be impulsive, because to you, it's like, oh, I already know. You'll be, sometimes it'll be so sad, you'll be like, I need to pray hard. I need to pray for this person. I need to go ask them if they want me to pray for them. Because again, it doesn't shock you anymore. We have to get to a place where this is why we go through in certain relationships where it's so easy to say, man, I ain't got patience, but I'm going to cut you up. Because it's like, to us, everything is a surprise. Once again. But when we move from that place, and I'm wrapping up, when we move from that place of being sensual all the time and reactive and living out of our feelings, and oh God, I must be in sin because I don't feel holy today. I don't feel saved, or I must be doing wrong because, I'm going through all this stuff. So I feel like you ain't there with me. And I feel, no, lean on the truth of what you know. Lean not to your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him. We know that if we acknowledge God, that we'll be okay. We know he has a plan for our lives, and it's to bring us to an expected end. We know that all things work together for those that love him and that are the called, not called, but the called. We know. So I challenge us tonight. I challenge us that for the next few days, you can do a week, you can do a month, you can do 2 months. I challenge us to, when things start happening in the next couple days, week, month, whatever, I challenge us to pay attention. Pay attention to see what is the matter. And look at the patterns, look at the habits, look at it to see, is this something that happened before that is happening again that I already know about? Let me not be quick to respond. Let me not be quick to react. And I'm talking to myself, y'all, because honey, I be having my moments. I be like, listen, I'm about to, I'm telling you, I'm speaking from experience. So when I come up here and I talk to you all about topics and stuff, because it's really be on my heart and because I really went through that thing. I'm not on here sharing stuff and just speaking stuff just out of my head, right? It's not just out of my head. But again, information with lived experience. Listen, I'm telling you that even me, I had to talk to myself and say, hey, because sometimes the same people, and even if they're not the same people, things keep happening because it wants you to get out of character. Yeah. It's waiting for you to be impulsive and respond so it can say, oh, you wasn't qualified. Oh, you don't know how to handle pressure. Oh, you talking about you save and look how you acting. Now, it doesn't mean we won't have our our moments. Yeah, we human. But when you get to a certain place in your life and you know you done been through so much, like when you're somebody that went through so much hell in your life, like I said, that you can write a whole book, you can do a whole movie on it. You have to get to a place of maturity to say, you know what? Let me reevaluate this situation. Because what is this situation what is it trying to do to me? Is it trying to cause me to act in a way that it would disqualify me to the next step where God has taken me? What's it trying to do? Is it trying to distract me from getting off my game, from seeing the true purpose of why it's here? What is it trying to do? Is it trying to blind my eyes by the reactions and the taunting and the torment from that person because it really don't want me to see what's the real thing in there? That person, they acting like that towards me because they really hurt. They're really insecure. And I need to pray about that insecurity in them. Are they really dealing with some self-hate? That's why they're treating me that way. And I need to pray for that self-hate, that God would change that in their lives, that they would get free from arrogance, from self-righteousness. Listen, that's what it is right there. But when you wake up and realize and see and remind yourself of the truth of what you know about who you are and who God has called you to be, nothing can shake you. You'll be like, okay, I see you. And I'm telling you, you'll begin to win victories that you don't even know you fought. Sometimes the best victory is the one that you didn't even have to fight. Sometimes the best victory, the best conversation, sometimes the best debate is the one that you didn't even have to defend yourself in and justify yourself and prove to people of who you are and then say all of these. I ain't got to do all that no more. When you feel like you got to prove yourself to somebody, it's because you're really trying to prove to yourself who you are. Mic drop. When you're trying to prove who you are to somebody else for their validation, it's because you're trying to prove to yourself. You're trying to figure out who you are. So if you feel like somebody and I got to prove who I am because I got to go off, I got to do this, I got to show them I ain't nothing to play with, and I just, then you're really trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to prove to yourself that you bought that life and you're not. You be like, Lord, I can't. So I challenge us. I'm going to close this up. I'm going to challenge us tonight in the next few days. When something happened and goes on, to go back and remember and remind yourself of what you know based on everything you've been through in your life. Before you take that next step and opening your mouth and reacting, listen, I'm speaking to myself, God. When you want to take that next step, because you may have the best answer, but sometimes it's not the right time to say anything. That's where wisdom come in, right? Because sometimes people, because they're in themselves and they feel a certain way, they ain't gonna want to hear you. They don't want to hear you. So you may have the best answer, but sometimes if it's not welcome, don't say nothing. Am I wrong? Because sometimes people look at me like, I didn't welcome that answer. I didn't ask for your opinion. So you have to know to discern and be wise. Again, use wisdom. Wisdom is applying the right knowledge at the right time for the right situation. So we're going to end it on that note. How many of y'all enjoyed tonight's conversation? Let me know in the chat. How many of y'all enjoyed tonight's conversation? Episode 4 down. Oh. So, let me know in the chat how you feel about tonight's podcast. And listen, I tell y'all, every time I do a podcast, I go back and watch it because it encourages me. I watch it like 5 times in 2 days. Because again, you are your first messenger. If what you're sharing to people doesn't affect you, if it doesn't encourage you, if it doesn't move you, if it doesn't bless you, if it doesn't convict you, if it don't cause you to repent, if it doesn't cause you to get it right, if it doesn't cause you to apologize, if it doesn't causes you to encourage yourself, then what are we doing? What are we doing? That's like somebody telling you all these different things and sharing all these answers, but they're not living nothing. Everything that they're telling you is not working for them. You're selling a product that doesn't work for you. You're telling me that this is good for me, but it's not helping you. So understand, on every podcast that I'm doing, whether it's by myself or having a conversation with somebody else, that this is not just to the viewers, but this is helping me. This is reminding me and encouraging me, convicting me. So I continue. That's why I said, join me on this journey, because this is not just a regular podcast show. It's more than that. And I hope and pray that you all are blessed by it. And so just a few updates. I am super duper duper excited for KLU Pivot with me, Latora, and friends. Yes. And the reason why I added the friend guys and ladies and gents, is because starting this month, we're going to start adding some special guests to the conversation. And I'm so excited because we're getting ready to add some of my special guests is going to be joining me on having conversations one-on-one. And while we dive into topics on here, so you guys will be blessed. Listen, I want you all to be ready in the chat when I bring up my guests and we going in on the conversation. Be ready in the chat to come up. Even on those lives also. That's another opportunity. Like I said, if you would want to join and come on, I would love to send a private link to you so you can come up and join the live. So you can share your thoughts, you can share with your takeaways, your feedback from the conversation, or if you wanted to ask questions to the guests while they're here, that will be your time to do so. So before I wrap up, that's one thing. And another thing, we're getting ready to start our panel nights. Yes, we're going to have panel nights on KLU Pivot. And so what that means is I'm going to have multiple guests up at one time, and we're going to just, y'all, dive in to conversations based on the topic that we're going to be having for that particular night. So my goal and my plan is in my heart for us to do panel nights at least once a month. And so I'm getting that together. I want to bring you information, and I want to bring you content that is going to bless you, uplift you, keep you accountable, and to keep you motivated and inspired to let's live life together. Let's do life together. Let's do great things and bigger and better things for the Lord and for others. And so before I leave, I want to open up an opportunity for anybody who would like to come on. And if you have anything to share or anything, this is the opportunity to do so. And so I love that. I love that. So it's now our collaboration conversation time of the show. If anybody have anything to say, if you would like to come on, no pressure. You do not have to. You're not obligated. If anybody want to come on and share feedback or questions, and I know sometimes, especially with the late, some people be like, nah, I ain't looking good. I ain't trying to be on nobody's face live stream, and I'm looking a mess. Listen, you're beautiful, okay? Without makeup, bonnet, all that. You can come up. Okay. So I'm gonna give about a minute or so, 2 minutes. If anybody want to come on, you can put something in the chat. I'm gonna give you a minute to let me know so I can be prepared to send you the link. And we got one more minute. It's 9:12, 9:13. Okay, just let me know. And I can send you the link to come on. Sissy Pooh, thank you so much. I hope that everybody enjoyed it. Yeah, sometimes it'd be a little slow, y'all. I be trying to get them a rhythm. But then they come moments where it's like, ooh, burst, and everything comes out. And you just go and share. So, all right. I think that is it. So we are done for tonight. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me on KLU Pivot. And I hope that you enjoyed this conversation tonight. We are only going to get better and better and grow more and more and more. Again, I do the work to, prepare myself and to jump in the word and build my relationship with God so I can bring content to you all that is fulfilling, that is refreshing, that is prepared. I hope that this will be a blessing to you. And so thank you once again, lovelies, for joining me. Until then, live by faith, grow in grace, and walk in love. Until next time, go with God as God go with you. See you next week for another episode. Bye.